Happy New Year, everybody. I finally escaped France just in time to celebrate with my husband at home on the boat. Of course, I'm not much of a partier these days. Welcome to Sailing for Sustainability, where I share my sailing voyage and talk about sustainability. One thought I had that Calais made very clear is that living on a boat is kind of like being a snail. You're totally at home no matter where you go because you bring your home with you. It's a very unique feeling. Anyway, after the holidays, I immediately started taking down the mainsail and collecting the hardware and working on other boat projects. This is the only path to get to a chandlery. It feels like a secret, and it's kind of a magical place because we've been finding exactly what we need there. Of course, the chandlery isn't really a secret if your boat is here on the hard or in the marina nearby. One of my favorite features about it, though, was this little microplastic bin. Very thoughtful, very clear, and, ocean lovers unite. I also thought the town of Poole in general had a great little recycle kick, using art to engage people in how to handle waste and dealing with it. Anyway, aside from working on the boat, we made sure to enjoy ourselves and engage in a lot of British activities like drinking at pubs, playing darts, eating at a restaurant from the 1500s. And I found what is probably my favorite mural of the trip so far. Even Odin started to enjoy himself and venture out more because it was a tad bit sunny. And I'd been reading this great book that was telling the story of conserving Lyme Bay. And we sat down at dinner and Lyme Bay mussels were on the menu. It was this great story full of political tension and an oil spill and foreign fishing fleets ruining the livelihoods of local fishers, and essentially a community coming together and living in harmony with their habitat. A working group formed, and together they determined their objectives. And now Lyme Bay is a huge success story and a conservation model for the world to follow. But eventually, our time in England came to an end. Hey y'all, it is a beautiful, very clear, very crisp night in Poole. It is our last night here in England. We are setting sail tomorrow morning, and we're gonna just beeline it for Brest, France. That will be the last point at which we can check the weather and decide if we need to stop and wait, or if we can just keep on going and cross Biscay immediately, which would be ideal. I can't wait to get to warmer weather. I'm really excited to have a good mainsail and to take it out for the first time. Oh my god. That was the whole reason we stopped in Poole, was for Kemp Sails. They did an amazing job installing, amazing job building the sail. I'm just so grateful to them and really, really excited. They are, according to a marine mechanic we chatted with, the last proper family-run sail makers in the UK. It is truly a family business, and you are treated very well. So, I love Kemp Sails. It was really exciting watching them put the mainsail on. Brett helped, of course. At one point we had to divide and conquer, and I ran some errands. But yeah, the weather's looking good from now for the next couple weeks, and we're just gonna take advantage of it and go as hard as we can.
Yeah. Just sailing by castles.
Yeah, sailing by castles. It's just what you do in Europe, I suppose. With any mode of transportation, just pass by castles. So the day finally came that we were leaving the UK, off to the English Channel, and of course, raising our new mainsail, which was very, very exciting. And it wasn't long before my mind slipped back into sailing mode, which I guess is one of deep thought. I started thinking about the book I was reading by Charles Clover, and how he has his name on a giant boulder on the seabed in Dogger Bank. He called Dogger Bank the Atlantis of the North Sea. It has a long history of being overfished and otherwise abused, and was essentially a paper park, meaning it was protected by law but not in practice. And scientists studying rare sharks found that there were fewer sharks in the marine protected area than the surrounding areas. Like, that's how bad it was. And Clover had just reached the end of his tether with that and called up Greenpeace and had them put his name on a boulder that they were dropping, one of 17 granite chunks. And the news was super big, of course. And it made a lot of people angry, even though it was very effective. It made a lot of fishers angry, and they felt like Greenpeace wasn't considering their needs. A typical environmentalist criticism, right? But it actually was highly beneficial to the inshore fishermen, who were very upset by fishing methods that were ruining their livelihoods. And Greenpeace did mark on the chart plotter where the boulders were so that the fishers could avoid them to avoid injury. As you can see here, chart plotters will show boats like right on top of each other, but the boat is way over there. Anyway, my deep thoughts were interrupted by attempting to cook in rolling seas. This was my first time cooking while underway, and it was pretty challenging. We were going over the second continental shelf, so the first one we passed was up by northern France, and the second one is down by northern Spain, and waves on the beam, right, the broadside of the boat, made it very, very awkward and rough. I did manage to get hot food on the table, though. And if you're wondering how the cat handles this, he doesn't. He just finds a little nest, curls up in a ball, and waits for things to settle down. And I felt such relief so many times because I saw so many sunrises and so many sunsets, like more in the last month than probably several years combined. And it was just an amazing reminder that I'm alive, floating on this little planet, hurtling through space. And I mean, it's both humbling and comforting, and maybe those two things are needed to feel peaceful. But it's sort of a rewilding of your mind to be completely present and to remember your specieshood, shall we say, that you are just another species on this planet. And after 3 days of clear skies and sun, I was reminded of how much the sun impacts us. Like, I really feel like we're regulated by the sunshine, and winter is supposed to be a time of rest and hibernation. And yeah, so sailing for 6 days straight was like reconnecting with the ecosystem and with the sea and with the global cycles from day and night to seasons. And as I was thinking about, restoring and rewilding and all those concepts, I also thought about how we need to do that with our minds. We need to rewild our minds in order to really understand how to rewild a place and be part of the wild itself. And that's a big part of why I'm choosing to inhabit the sea and go on this voyage. I am rewilding my mind so that I can be a better ocean advocate, climate activist, artist, and person. And I'm so grateful to be able to do it and to have these encounters with dolphins. This just felt like a welcoming committee congratulating us on a successful Bay of Biscay crossing. These dolphins, oh, they played in the wake from the bow of the boat for like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, and it just felt like an eternity in a way. Like, part of me will forever live in this moment, and it's just such a gift to see them in person and to hear their breath. And I think at one point I even got like sprayed from the blowhole breath because I was just laying flat on the deck at the bow so I could see them as well as possible. And yeah, this was just an absolute treat. It felt like waking up from the dream of frigid, cold winter. Welcome back to the sunshine. Of course, Odin was the first to really take advantage of the sunshine and just sunbathe and enjoy himself. He started joining me on all of my watches and lounging in this chair that we put for him under the spray hood. Ugh, to be a sailing cat, what a life. And of course, I went from being somewhat miserable and freezing and feeling like my nose is going to fall off to shedding layers and just loving life. I felt like I was coming awake again. And Brett got really good at spotting lobster pots, which of course made me think of Dave, the crab and lobster fisher in Lyme Bay, who almost had his pots destroyed by scallop dredgers from a foreign fleet. But yeah, they are relatively hard to spot, and thank you, Portuguese lobster fishermen and women, for labeling your lobster pots well. Brett did a really good job at dodging them. Anyway, we finally started on day 6 to round the corner of the Portuguese coast, and the sky seemed to just be putting on a show of different hues and pastels of blue, and there's something really peaceful about it.